freedom is sometimes dangerous, and you can't really legislate safety into every area of our life, or else government will someday say we all have to live in a padded room and eat yogurt with a spork so that we don't cause injury to ourselves or others. And that's the end result of that type of logic.
Good evening. It's October 20th, and welcome back to Cape Media News, your source for hyperlocal news that matters. I'm Lauren Williamson. Elections are coming up quick in the town of Barnstable, and all 13 seats on the town council are up for grabs. This week, Precinct 11 in West Barnstable held a candidates' night at the 1717 Meeting House, hosted by the West Barnstable Civic Association. The candidates, incumbent Chris Clark and challenger Toby Leary, gave statements and took questions from the audience.
What are the biggest concerns West Barnstable would face or is looking at facing, and how would you plan on resolving those?
Paying attention to our water. The questions that Dan asks are very relevant. Our water supply in West Barnstable and the way that the comprehensive wastewater management plan is going to affect our taxes. So I understand that, and I have been advocating for relief for this part of town who will not be the primary beneficiary of the sewage installation plan, but will be asked to help pay for it. So I'm hoping that these resources that can be towards improving your septic system installation and well improvements or reestablishment of wells, that the Aqua Fund would be able to assist us in ways that that would affect us here in West Barnstable.
I think that the number one issue facing us in the next 4 years, far and away, is going to be the fact that we have about $750,000 to $1 million baked into the budget of an annual increase in tax revenue from expansion of the housing market, or whether it be through new building permits or new housing or new development of said housing. So the fact of the matter is, if we do nothing and we don't get out in front of the housing crisis that I believe is upon us here on Cape Cod, it's going to be impossible for our taxes not to go up, just based on the fact that we have money baked into the budget of an annual increase of $1 million a year of new revenue coming into the town just from new construction or building permits and that whole process. I think that, in my short 20, 30-year career of construction, I did a lot of work on Nantucket over the years, and I used to see housing available, and you'd see a lot pop up or a house pop up that you're like, oh man, that one's actually kind of doable. You could almost afford that. Nowadays you can't touch a house or a piece of property or anything on Nantucket, and my biggest fear is that Cape Cod will turn into Nantucket too, and our children will certainly not be able to live here, our grandchildren, and it'll force a lot of people who have put down roots and made lifelong commitments to living here, it impossible to live here because of the rising costs. And so if we can get out in front of this, which I believe we can, then we can have a greater workforce housing available. We can certainly expand some low-income opportunities, but I think that the bottom line is West Barnstable is not going to be insulated from this. We do have to address it, and we might even have to get creative on how to do that.
You can watch the full stream on the 1717 Meeting House Facebook page. The Massachusetts House of Representatives has overwhelmingly approved revisions to the state's gun laws in response to a 2022 Supreme Court decision affecting public carry licensing. The bill passed with a 120-38 vote, with most Republican legislators opposing it. Key provisions of the legislation include reaffirming the state's ban on assault rifles and addressing ghost guns by requiring them to have unique serial numbers and registration when sold. The bill also designates areas where firearms are prohibited, including schools, public buildings, and polling places. Property owners can also prohibit firearms on their premises. During the legislative process, nearly 50 proposed amendments were mostly rejected. Critics argue that the law is an overreach and won't necessarily enhance public safety, citing the state's already robust gun laws. Advocates, including Moms Demand Action, support the bill. They view it as a step forward in addressing emerging firearm issues. The bill will now move to the Massachusetts Senate, where Democrats are working on their own firearm legislation. Senate President Karen Spilka expects to pass it before the session's end. Gateway Airport recently provided figures to show that airlines' passenger numbers are down 63% from 2012, while overall airport passenger activity has declined by a whopping 93% since 2007. Meanwhile, private and charter flights are up by nearly half of what they were a decade ago. Seeing the 93% drop in passenger traffic, the enormous growth in corporate jets, I look at that and I see corporate welfare, said Barnstable Town Councilor Betty Lutke. Then I think of the amount of federal money that has gone into that airport. It's basically to allow people with private jets to enjoy their vacation homes. Amidst dropping numbers, residents in the surrounding community are skeptical of the airport's necessity and overall utility. They are even calling for its closure or relocation to Joint Base Cape Cod in the face of infrastructure upgrades, like the proposed $22 million runway expansion. Despite slowing usage and infrastructure needs, JetBlue and Cape Air are currently the two commercial airlines that offer flights in and out of Cape Cod's Gateway Airport. However, beginning June 5th, 2024, American Airlines will commence daily flight service from the New York's LaGuardia Airport and from Washington, D.C.'s Reagan National Airport on June 22nd to Gateway. Katie Service, the airport manager, expressed enthusiasm as years-long negotiations with American Airlines have culminated in this confirmation. Tickets for these flights will be available for purchases from October 23rd, with prices expected to range between $200 and $400. American Airlines will operate 2 daily flights connecting Hyannis to LaGuardia and Reagan National Airport. In a now deleted Facebook post, a local resident reported finding a wallet in his front yard, claiming the owner had been creeping around his house the night before. Shared with the post was a photo of a Jamaican driver's license. In response to the comments, the author of the post also shared photos of the man's social security card. This is known as doxing. Doxing is the act of publicly providing personally identifiable information about an individual or entity on the internet, typically with malicious intent. The information can include things like the person's real name, home address, phone number, email address, workplace and family members, financial information, and more. Doxing is usually done without the person's consent and is often intended to harm, intimidate, or harass the individual. Doxing can have serious consequences, including invasion of privacy, harassment, identity theft, and even physical harm. It is often used as a form of online harassment, cyberbullying, or to target individuals for retribution or public shaming. It is considered unethical and is frequently against the terms of service of most social media platforms and websites. It may also be illegal in many jurisdictions, especially when it leads to harm or harassment. Laws regarding doxing vary by country and jurisdiction, so it's important to consult with legal authorities in your area if you believe you have been doxed or are considering pursuing legal action against a doxer. Coming up after the break, neo-Nazis rally at the governor's house. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Cape Media News. I'm Lauren Williamson. Last Saturday night, neo-Nazi group NSC 131 gathered outside Governor Healey's home in Arlington to light flares and chant, "New England is ours, the rest must go." The group was protesting the arrival of migrants in Massachusetts, an issue they have protested outside migrant housing in the past. Neighbors were disturbed and expressed concern that the group would bring intimidation tactics to an area where many families and children reside instead of outside state government buildings. NSC 131, which stands for Nationalist Social Club Anti-Communist Action, made posts on Gab, the free speech social media site known for its far-right user base, stating that the Healey administration is attempting to erode New England's racial and cultural integrity through white replacement policies, end quote. The group continues to call into action white supremacists and nationalists around the country, stating that the beast that rules over us has never been more weak. Now is the time to act, end quote. Healey released a statement Monday admonishing the group for threatening the safety of the community, promising that law enforcement is keeping a very close eye on this group and groups like it. The Housing to Protect Cape Cod Coalition is hosting a summit on October 26th to share the coalition's progress over the last year and provide advocacy resources for the community. The Housing to Protect Cape Cod Coalition consists of businesses and organizations across the Cape with the common goal of spreading awareness about the housing crisis and empowering the community to speak up about the housing needs. The average price of a single-family home on Cape Cod is more than $650,000, meaning a family would need to make $210,000 a year in order to purchase a home. However, the average homeowner on Cape Cod only makes about $82,000 a year. This means that the working class families are being priced out of the area, resulting in understaffed firehouses and police stations, longer wait times at healthcare facilities, and worker shortages across various industries. The coalition envisions the Cape with varying housing options to fit the needs of all residents. They hope to work towards this goal by supporting zoning changes that will accelerate the permitting process for housing projects, repurposing unused or empty buildings, and allowing for residents to build accessory dwelling units on their properties. You can join the Housing to Protect Cape Cod Coalition for their summit on October 26th from 8:30 to 1:30 at the Cape Cod Resort in Hyannis. Tickets are $25 and can be purchased on their website at housingtoprotectcapecod.org. Governor Healey and Lieutenant Governor Driscoll unveiled the Affordable Homes Act on Wednesday, the largest proposed investment in housing in the state's history. The act includes $4 billion in capital spending authorizations, 28 policy changes, 3 executive orders, and 2 targeted tax credits. The bill allocates significant funding towards repairing public housing units, creating and preserving affordable housing, sustainable and green housing initiatives, developing mixed-income housing, and modifying homes to accommodate elderly or those with disabilities. These plans highlight the importance of infrastructure development, housing retention, and affordable housing in underserved communities. This initiative also contains a section on tax credits aimed to incentivize large donations to community development nonprofits and the production of homes intended for families that make up 120% of the area's median income. The bill calls for the immediate development of a statewide housing plan and an advisory committee to oversee its operations. Healey and Driscoll aim to address the root causes of the housing crisis with this act, as well as continue their work in progressing the state's climate goals. In the statement made on Wednesday, Healey summed up the goal of the Affordable Homes Act by saying, quote, Together, we're going to make our state a place where people can afford to move and to stay and to build their future. Join the Hyannis Chamber of Commerce for a Tiki Twilight celebration this October 24th at the Cape Cod Resort. Make sure to wear your tropical beach attire, as this year's annual meeting is themed to recognize Chamber Board member John Cotton's volunteer efforts in Maui. Hear about the Chamber's activities and accomplishments of 2023 and their plans for next year. Celebrate Business Award nominees, partake in a Polynesian menu served buffet style, and maybe even win Most Creative Outfit. Donations to the American Red Cross will be accepted, and the event will take place from 5 to 8 p.m. Visit Hyannis.com to learn more. This year's annual Taste of Dennis drew over 300 guests last Tuesday evening to bid in auctions, sample local restaurants, and enjoy live music at the Pelham House Resort. Take a look.
This event is to showcase the great food that we have in Dennis and the great services that we had. I was trying to figure out how old it is, but I think I saw something back to about 2003, 2004. And initially, it was always to help a little bit of something in the community and also help with the chamber cost on that one. We were able to do 12 scholarships for lifeguard training in honor of Holly Young, who back in, I think it was late 200s, 28, 29, died of a rare form of cancer. But what happens is the people who, the lifeguards that we really need in Dennis, since we have the best beaches around, they have to go through training, Red Cross training. And that if they work for the town for the summer, they get reimbursed for that training from proceeds from this event. So that's how that fits together. And then you get to showcase these great restaurants and things that we have here.
And this event has grown tremendously since I joined the chamber. I believe the first year that I was in the chamber, we had about 100, 150 people at the Taste of Dennis. And tonight we'll be hosting over 300. So we are very excited about, between all of our members, all of our participating restaurants, and all of the residents that have purchased tickets to this event. And we expose our restaurants here in Dennis, not only to Dennis residents, but to everybody in the Mid-Cape. So it's a great opportunity.
It's a good way for people to get, kind of an end of season thing, because the restaurants have really worked hard this summer, and hopefully this is a good evening for them too, and to remind us that they're here year round.
So we created this great passport system tonight, and the idea was that it would get people to visit all of the restaurants, because the Pelham House, who has been a wonderful host, has given us both the downstairs and the upstairs of this building. And there are restaurants on both floors. We also have a silent auction of items that have been contributed by all of our members, and they have just done an amazing job. And we're going to have a live auction as well in the middle of this event. So it's just a lot going on everywhere.
50s that I have, and the 5 is next. 500, thank you now. 5 and now 550. 500 is what I have. 550s next, and 550 is what I need. I've got a $500 bid. 550 is what I need next. Sir, you're bidding against yourself, Mr. Mullen.
We're hoping that the attendees will go away feeling that Dennis is a great place to visit, it's a great place to live, and they have some great folks, and they're all unbelievably friendly.
Coming up after the break, Governor Healey gives an update on emergency housing. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Cape Media News. I'm Lauren Williamson. This week, Governor Healey revealed new details about the escalating housing crisis affecting thousands of families across Massachusetts. Faced with an unprecedented surge in demand for emergency shelter, Healey says the state is at a tipping point and has issued a call for federal assistance. Take a look.
Well, thank you, everyone. We're here today to provide an update on the state's emergency assistance program and to share some new steps that we're taking. As you know, in August, we declared a state of emergency in Massachusetts due to unprecedented demand on our family shelter system. The trend continues to be driven by the arrival of families who are new to our country. I want to be absolutely clear about who these folks are. They are families, some expecting moms, and children. More than half are children. And they are here lawfully, allowed in with the knowledge and consent of our federal government. So we've met this moment in Massachusetts using all the resources, creativity, and the partnership that we have to offer. We've opened 2 new welcome centers, set up legal services programs, contracted with human services providers, called up National Guard members, and we've also seen local communities step up in so many ways. But we've also made it clear at every step that our shelter system cannot expand indefinitely. This level of demand is not sustainable. We need urgent support from the federal government, which bears ultimate responsibility for this situation. Today, we can share that our shelter system is on the verge of reaching capacity. As of yesterday, close to 7,000 families are in emergency shelter. That's more than twice the number of families we were sheltering a year ago. The reality we are facing now is this: we do not have enough space, service providers, or funds to safely expand beyond 7,500 families. We expect to hit that limit at the end of the month. From that point on, we will no longer be able to guarantee shelter placement for new families entering the system. I want to assure you that we will continue to engage, assess, and serve every family who appeals for help as best we can. Families with high needs, including health and safety risks, will be prioritized for shelter placement. First, I'm appointing a new emergency assistance director to lead operations in this new phase. Lieutenant General Scott Rice has more than 4 decades of experience in the U.S. Air Force, including as director of the U.S. Air National Guard. He served as the TAG of the Massachusetts National Guard under 2 administrations, both for Governor Patrick and Governor Baker. In that role, he led emergency management teams through situations that include snowstorms and floods where families needed support and communities needed a partner. General Rice will work across our incident command structure and in close collaboration with local officials and stakeholders. Last week, at our request, officials from the Department of Homeland Security came to Massachusetts to view the situation on the ground. We want this visit to lead to action, because over months of multiple requests and meetings, we have communicated directly and clearly the needs we have here in the state. We need work authorizations. We've identified specific regulatory and guidance adjustments, as well as logistical improvements, all of which would expedite the review process and help families become more self-reliant more quickly. We also need funding to cover ongoing costs of providing shelter and services. Here in Massachusetts, we have shown that we can move forward in a unified way from our shared values, but we can only go it alone for so long. It's time for the federal government to step up and do the job we need them to do. But today, we wanted to be very clear about the state of play and about new measures we are taking to address the current situation.
We know the current model is not sustainable going forward. That's why our message to the federal government has also been spoken with one unified voice. We have made multiple requests to the Department of Homeland Security for funding, resources, and work authorizations, as the governor mentioned. Those requests have been joined by advocacy from the Attorney General, the state legislature, the Mass Business Association, the Boston Archdiocese, and the Association of Independent Colleges and Universities in Massachusetts. When officials from the Department of Homeland Security were here, they not only got to hear from us, they also visited with local leaders and providers on the ground at shelter sites to see with their own eyes what the needs are and what it's costing us to meet them. This has truly been a collective effort. But as the governor said, with winter months approaching, we know this will be upon us very soon, and we need everyone to understand, especially the federal government and anyone who would send newly arriving families our way, that we are at our shelter limit capacity. With 23,000 individuals in shelter, that's equal to the size of a small city spread out in 90 different places. From now on, we're going to be managing this system, but we cannot continue to expand it. We're going to manage it with our Massachusetts values, keeping the needs of vulnerable families at the center of our efforts. We're confident in our ability to move forward in this new phase as a team. General Rice is going to lead this work on the ground and serve as a resource for local officials and communities, and we'd like to invite him to say a few words.
Thank you, Governor Healey and Lieutenant Governor Driscoll. It's actually good for me to be back in this historic building, and it's great to be teaming up with an administration that is doing the things the right way. I'm a longtime resident of Southampton in western Massachusetts, and this state is my home. I've raised my family here. I've worked for 30 years here. I have strong relationships across the state and Commonwealth of Massachusetts in the Massachusetts National Guard, to include serving as the Adjutant General. And I've responded firsthand to many statewide emergencies. It is important to me that our state succeeds in meeting this humanitarian challenge. I'll bring all my values and all I've learned to bear on this crisis. I spent a career leading large-scale organizations and emergency response operations. I've learned that communication and partnerships are key to meeting a challenge like this. This is the approach I will bring to this new role, working across the incident command structure that's been already set up in close collaboration with local, state, federal, nonprofit, and advocacy group partners. We will be responsive. We will be transparent and trustworthy in everything we do. And I am honored that Governor Healey and Lieutenant Governor Driscoll have placed their faith in me to lead this critical mission to ensure the safety and well-being of families in Massachusetts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this evening. If you have a story that you would like to see covered, send us an email at newstip@capemedia.org. Tune in every week for more hyperlocal news that matters on Channel 26, Apple TV, Roku, and Fire TV. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media, including Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. For Cape Media News, I'm Lauren Williamson.